Here's what's coming into view on Elevating Denver for September 2024. The Public Defender's Office has a new approach to youth offenses.
We aren't here to get you in trouble.
The Denver Basic Income Project is investing in people.
Preventative medicine for the economy.
Lifelong friendships begin with the City Girls Who Walk Club.
You're always going to have someone to walk with.
Those stories and more are on the next episode of Elevating Denver.
Overall, the challenge that our young people are facing, whether it's in Denver Municipal, whether it's in state court, is the reality of facing down the school to prison pipeline. A significant number of young people, particularly our Black and brown youth, as well as our youth with disabilities, they get tickets here in the municipal space. Things then lead to state charges, which then lead to kids being charged as adults. And so we've been moving further and further and further down this pipeline. And then we got to this space of seeing that kids were in Denver Municipal Court with no lawyers, no counsel, no advice. In December of 2023, City Council made a unanimous vote and created a full-time employee position for the Office of Municipal Public Defenders to have a youth defense attorney. And so even in the entire state of Colorado, we are the only municipal court that has public defenders for children. There's a lot of poverty-related crimes. There's a lot of petty offenses, but then people are ending up in the system because they can't pay their way out. So the kids that only had access to defense counsel were kids whose families could afford defense counsel. So of course the families and the kids are gonna go the route of, let's just get this over with, right? And that can be taking a plea, that can be entering diversion. It's gonna be the quickest route that costs the least amount of money because there's other life things that are happening where you have already this idea that, oh, it's a ticket, it's no big deal. The reality is that it is step one in the school to prison pipeline. And the reason for that is because the moment a young person gets a ticket, their school can be notified. And then a kid can be suspended or expelled or threatened with expulsion, threatened with suspension. And then everything just spirals out of control because that kid is no longer in school. In terms of adolescent brain development, research says that there's a constant rewiring that is happening. This is a time when pathways are changing, when messaging can be coming in based on the environment, based on the feedback that can create this self-identity. If you are a young kid and you find yourself pulled into the system, that will affect every aspect of your life. That'll affect the way in which you view yourself in this world. It affects the way in which people view you in the world. I have had kids tell me that they have been labeled bad so many times that they're like, all right, then I'll show you bad. So how can we give a different message that's like, I see you, I hear you, I know you're in pain. I have been in that space too. Let me help you. One of the experts that I've spoken with has called it, kids are all gas and no brake, right? Like they're not thinking about future consequences. They're thinking about, okay, what's the fastest way to get this over with? We're realizing that there's a lot of folks out there with warrants, right? From when they were kids, from alleged school fights as children, right? And then suddenly they're applying for jobs, background check is done, and they're told you have a warrant. Like they're told you have a pending assault charge from 5 years ago, and then they're not able to get that job. They're not able to get that housing. So then they have to come through and handle that. So that's a change, right? Is we're able to help folks who are meeting barriers now in their adulthood based off of very small charges from their past when they were children, when they were acting out of their adolescent behavior. That's why I do this. Because growing up as a little Black girl, I felt so unseen and so uncared for, and I very easily could have been pulled into the system. Bell Hooks has a book called All About Love and talks about the only way that there can really be justice is if we are not treating children like property. And so to have us here, it relieves a lot of fear. Like, we aren't here to get you in trouble. We're here to actually help you navigate this very complicated process. That's when we see change, is when that trust is there, when a kid is being told, you matter, your voice matters, let's do this together. Having these interventions now, connecting kids with youth orgs, keeping them in school and protecting their education rights, rather than later on and kind of bandaging things up, that to me would be success. And so now that we have this position, we have the time and the capacity to investigate. But I don't think people knew just the depth to which municipal court tickets and tickets that kids have, how that it can affect their futures. And now they know, and now we get to do something about it. You can contact the Office of Municipal Public Defender. Please, if you are worried or if you have been trying to close out a case, right? Even if you've been trying to get something sealed or expunged from when you were a kid, contact us. We're here to even reach out to other municipal courts, right? Like, are you having trouble getting in contact with another county? We can try and help you with that too. I know it's scary, but we are here now to help you navigate that space, and we want to help you. The ways in which we can help are endless.
So we're here in Wash Park, and we did our weekly City Girls Who walk around Wash Park. You get to meet a lot of different people. They bring dogs, we have people who bring friends for the first time. So you just get to know a lot of girls who moved here. I feel like Denver is a very transplant city, and so a lot of the girls who come to the walk are also transplants. So we talk about, like, oh, what do you like to do for fun? What is this your first walk? What do you do outside the walk? And then you just kind of find common ground.
I've been coming a little bit over a year, I guess, like since last spring. And yeah, it's been awesome to meet new friends and connect with other women in their 20s and 30s in Denver.
I decided to start this group back in February of 2023, just as a way to meet new people, make new friends. I had been living in Denver at that point for almost 4 years. Didn't really have a really core group of friends. I was just kind of wanting to start meeting more adult friends and reach out and branch out outside of work.
As we get older, our energy levels and time are so precious and valuable that it can be so important to build that community of people that really build you up and support you, and that can be difficult to find as an adult. So it just means everything when you can finally find that group of girls and come together and be able to have that closeness and community that you've really been craving.
Erica, we should get a little picture before we, by the water up there, like in the middle.
Oh yeah, I'm originally from Orlando. I moved here about 2 years ago. I was actually going through a pretty rough breakup at the time and didn't have any friends here, so it was tough. And I joined the walk group and really just met the people who got me through it in this past year, and it's been amazing. Like, it's almost like pretty emotional to talk about, because if I hadn't met them, I don't know how I would have gotten through it. So I'm really glad.
Wasn't really sure what I was getting myself involved with. I remember the very first walk that we ever had. I was sitting in my car till honestly 5 minutes before 12, the start time, because I was so nervous and I wasn't really sure what I signed up for. But I had one friend that was out there, and she's like, there's a whole group of people out here. I think they're here to walk. And I just got in my car, and it got easier and easier as the weeks went on.
I think it's always scary approaching a new situation, approaching a new group of people that you don't know, but everyone is so warm and welcoming and inclusive, and it's just, even for someone like me who's just kind of a little bit naturally extroverted, it still can be really scary and intimidating. So just being able to go and approach people, and everyone's just so warm and welcoming.
Hi! How are you? Hi!
It is definitely hard to put yourself out there the first time, but once you get out for the first walk, you see how friendly everyone is and how they're kind of all in the same boat. One of the things we all like to say is that no girls walk alone, so you're always going to have someone to walk with.
The walk club has meant a home away from home for me. I moved here not knowing anyone, and I have made like my own mini family here in Denver, my own like sisters in a way, and I'm truly thankful for it.
If someone was nervous to come out, I would definitely tell them to just, if you can get through the first 30 seconds of it, you can do it. Like if you can just show up to the big group of girls talking, someone will reach out to you, someone will fold you into the conversation, someone will ask you your name. You just have to get here. And that's the hardest part. But once you're there, like you will find someone that will talk to you and you will find a friend for sure.
I hope that girls coming out here, if they're new to Denver or just looking for new friends, maybe just new groups and communities to join, they want to kind of get out of their bubble, this is the perfect opportunity to do that. So I hope they come out and walk. The walks are all free, so they're just very easy and like non-committal. There's no sign up required, so you could just show up and then not come for a few weeks and come back. You can find all the information about our group on Instagram. We are City Girls Who Walk DEN for Denver. And we post in our bio the meetup location and the time. If you feel like you want to come out and walk with us, you're more than welcome to join.
For me, that's what Denver Basic Income Project has done. They cared enough to show support. I'm not looking for a handout. I'm looking for a hand up. Denver Basic Income Project rescued me off the cliff. I will use my voice every opportunity I get.
The Denver Basic Income Project is an experiment project that's testing delivering guaranteed income to people experiencing homelessness in Denver. We're the first and largest project of its kind to study the impact of GI on homelessness specifically. And the idea is that giving people direct cash, no strings attached, would allow them to meet their most basic immediate needs on their own.
We think of it as sort of preventative medicine for the economy. That's what guaranteed income is. When you address something up front, it costs a fraction of what it costs to deal with the downstream consequences of not dealing with it. And right now we were experiencing that with healthcare costs, with the cost of the criminal justice system, with mental health and substance issues. And these are all complex and interrelated. But the beauty of guaranteed income is that it's simple, it's cost effective, it's quick, and it really can work across all of those societal problems in one fell swoop.
Council was very supportive. They understand this as a tool in our tool belt to be able to get folks the resources that they need, and understanding that there are different pathways to be able to address some of the big issues that are happening with our community when it comes to transportation, when it comes to housing, when it even comes to medical care, that we have a responsibility and an opportunity. And I think they saw basic income as an opportunity for us to really pull out our tools to be able to help enrich the lives of Denverites.
We launched the hard launch of the pilot back in November of 2022, and the total cohort was 807 folks receiving cash, so over 800 individuals and families. Group A receives $1,000 a month for 12 months. Group B receives $6,500 up front that first month, and then for the next 11 months receives $500 a month. And then our active comparison group, Group C, receives $50 a month. Some of the results we've seen were really promising housing outcomes. On average, 45% of all participants ended up being in a house or apartment that they rent or own at the 10-month mark. The number of folks who reported being stably housed doubled in 10 months. So that's just one way that illuminates how these payments have allowed folks to go from experiencing homelessness in one way or another to finding their way into a home or apartment or into whatever stable housing looks like for them. We're seeing rises in full-time employment for groups A and B. We're seeing a decrease in food insecurity. We're seeing a decrease specifically in stress and anxiety amongst parents So overall, we're trying to look at our data as both a quantitative and a qualitative picture, and kind of seeing how both of those reports, we have both on our website, blend together to tell a larger story. And based off the data that we collected from our participants over time and the reduction of services that they used, they estimated that on average, DBIP participants saved almost $600,000 in public spending.
We did give everybody a cell phone as well with free service and data so that they could stay connected with us. And then people who were not banked, they had an opportunity to take the card that we gave them so that they had access to the money. A lot of the programs that are out there, there's a lot of difficulty in getting access into those programs. When you are doing a program like the Denver Basic Income Project and providing direct cash, there's not a lot of that red tape that you have to go through. It's really simple.
Fundamental to this was starting from a place of trust and saying, we believe in you, we trust you, we're going to give this to you unconditionally. All of a sudden, there's a sense of hope. There's a sense that maybe my future could be better.
The Denver Basic Income Project is family. They actually care about the individual. They want you to do good. At the time that I got involved with the Denver Basic Income Project, I had just gotten evicted from my house. I was involved in an on-the-job car accident where I was hit from behind by an 18-wheeler, which started all this into motion. Receiving $1,000 a month for me truly was life-altering, because I had already made it up in my mind that I was too far behind, and I could not see. I couldn't see the tunnel, much less light on the other side. And I had already decided that if this program did not work, if I was not accepted, then that weekend I was going to drive up to the mountains, find me a nice icy road, and end it. So, and I do get emotional. And so for me, when they told me that I would receive $1,000 a month, to a lot of people, and especially if you live in Colorado, $1,000 doesn't sound like a lot. But for me, it made my car payment, it made my insurance payment. So I was actually able to have some place where I knew I could sleep, someplace secure.
Our top priority is always our participants, and so being there for them, listening to them, understanding their needs. We need more funding to continue to run this first cohort longitudinally. We need additional funding to set up a second cohort and start to expand. We want to show that this is replicable. When people ask, what can I do? If you're just kind to somebody on the street, that can make a difference. Do what you can today in your own way to take whatever we've shown is possible with this and expand it. Of course, donating to our project is a way to have immediate impact. We can bring this to policy at the national level. So we have this opportunity here in Denver to accelerate and to help more people move from homelessness to thriving.
So basically, when I come in through the front door, I go downstairs to the Visitors Welcome Center. Hey, how's it going? And I check in on which kids are here, because often the kids I'm working with, a lot of times they're not in attendance all year round. Just want to check in to see if a few kids are here today.
Denver Public Schools students come to the schools because they want to go to a place where it's safe. And if we're not providing safety first, education can't do what they need to do. The Youth Violence Prevention Program is a pilot program that started out last year, trying to figure out really how we can lower or reduce the risks our students are facing inside DPS.
And then I come upstairs to talk to campus security and find out if there's any emergent needs or anything that's been going on in the school, maybe in the last day or so, that I need to be aware of. From there, I'll be walking in the hallways. I may see a teacher or a dean that is a trusted adult of one of the kids I work with. But I'm guessing she had to for the court. She had to have a place for her to be. And it was a whole big family situation, like a lot of kids.
It's easy to see that there is a need around youth violence prevention. Since the early 20s and late teens, it was identified by the city and community that violent behavior of youth, we're talking anywhere from like 10 years old to 24 years old, was an issue, was on the rise, was related to lots of different things that were going on in the city. And so the idea of making a difference and being effective around reducing youth violence means we have to come at it from a lot of different places because it's not a simple thing.
Ultimately, the reason why youth violence is such a focus, and from whether it's a school perspective or a city perspective, is middle school is like the right time. They have peer pressure, they're starting to like experiment with things. They can make or break some life decisions in this crucial time where they're kind of like, for the first time, maybe getting themselves into some trouble. So really having like a strong mentor or somebody they can talk through if maybe they don't have that at home, someone connecting them to a resource before it's too late, I think is the whole perspective or goal of preventing youth violence, is how do you get there right when it's happening to help change the trajectory of their whole life.
Students really love like volleyball or basketball or just like coloring. And then I'm just checking in like, you know, how's caregivers, how's family situation, you know, are you good on like food, clothes, those kinds of things. My role is when I come into a school setting is to understand who are the people that are helping make the decisions. So we're meeting with leadership. So my role is to find out what's going on in the school, and then they may also have a select group of students that also might be struggling in different ways. And so we're meeting with the leadership to find out who those students are, and then meeting with the students and then the families to help support that student and the family.
She is just flooding us with all of these different resources that can be honestly really hard to find, whether it's whole school community impact that way, or whether it's her narrowed approach of a one-on-one student. Either way, she's making an impact of getting them exactly what they need when they need it, and that's not always something in a school we're able to do.
So last week when we were talking about like how to process flyers and programs, started talking to Dino about his vision for bringing in like uniforms for everybody, so everyone has like some late gear and this like sense of belonging.
How we can complement. That's really what our focus is. We want to be complementary. We're not trying to come in and tell a staff member, this is the approach that you need to have, or this is how you need to deal with students. We're coming in support and realizing that with the volume of incidents and needs that are taking place in the school, our team can pinpoint and be a little bit more direct and personalized on student needs and cases, whereas the school as a body is really trying to focus on what their agenda is, and that's education.
I think what folks really need to be aware of is that violence is a behavior. And behaviors don't come out of nowhere. Like any other behavior, it's driven by various forces. And so for us to be thinking about how do we impact violence, we don't necessarily even have to focus directly on the behavior. We can't pretend it isn't there. We can't pretend that it doesn't have a huge impact, but we really need to understand what's underneath it and driving it. And so this program is really about that. We don't need to be fearful about addressing violence because what we're addressing are just basic needs that every human being has.
We're a bridge of communication. A lot of times, the resources that students have, they may not understand all the resources that are available within DPS or outside of DPS. So we're also empowering them to understand what they have access to. And even the school themselves may not understand the resources that are outside of them. So we're also giving them communication about what's happening. And then as I'm working with students, I'm sharing that information with the leadership so they can further support them in the school setting.
We're providing layers of safety nets because every student matters and every student's needs matter. And if we're allowing students to fall through the cracks, that's where we end up seeing some of those students that escalate into higher levels of violent crime, or they drop the dropout rate. When people see that you care, you have a feeling of connection, you have a feeling of ownership.
We're already seeing great results from the pilot program. We're seeing the youth resiliency liaisons connecting with youth and their families, creating trust and relationships, identifying what's really underneath the behaviors, and then providing services and supports. And those services and supports are coming from the school itself, the school system, city agencies, and community-based organizations. And so we're hoping that not only is it addressing the issues of the youth, but really generalizing to the entire family who are living within the communities.
Stay elevated by subscribing to the city's YouTube page for these stories and more. And stay tuned to our social media channels for more content. Don't miss our new episodes of Elevating Denver, premiering each month. Thanks for watching, Denver.